What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another market update for Star Wars key issue comics. By this time, hopefully you've had a chance to read my first published article on GoCollect.com. For those of you that missed it, I'm going to put a link in the video description for this video so you can go take a look at it. It was really nice of GoCollect to reach out to me and have me hopefully contribute on a regular basis. So I hope you enjoyed the article. As you can tell, I'm really into numbers. I'm quite the nerd. But I wanted to talk today about some other books that I didn't really cover that much in that article. And we're going to talk about different grades, not only CGC 9.8s for once, although that's what I collect. And not everybody wants that, though. And I wanted to show some differences in prices. And in the current market environment where Star Wars comics are kind of, with the rest of the market, starting to drop a little bit. And I think part of it is because of a lack of new content. We've got basically a month and a half to 2 months before the new Andor series premieres. But also in general, there's a lot of economic worry out there, and people are tightening their budgets a little bit, and the comic market has taken a hit, which if you are like me, and you're actually buying and you want to have new books for your collection, now's a really great time, I think, to be buying. But I wanted to talk about some tips that I've been employing myself as it relates to getting the most for my dollars. So first of all, let's start with Star Wars #1, 1977, the book that started it all, the first appearance of Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, C-3PO, blah, blah, blah. And it's a great book, obviously. In a 9.8 grade, this book has not been nearly as affected as some other books because of economic concerns and the softening of the market. It's still holding really strong in a 9.8 grade. $4,500 to $5,000 pretty easily. And that's just a lot of money, and a lot of people don't want to spend that. So I wanted to show a few examples that sold here recently. This one just sold on July 8th. This was an 8.5 CGC grade. And the thing I wanted to point out about this one is that this one wasn't an auction. It's off-white to white pages. It's not perfect pages. It's not perfectly white pages. That one sold for $265 on 12 bids, $10 shipping. Now, let's say you go from an 8.5 CGC grade with off-white to white pages. What does that look like? And as you can see here, this one has white pages, as you can see on the label, and it's the same grade, 8.5. That one sold for $375. So that's a pretty big price premium just going from off-white to white pages to just only white pages. And this was a buy it now situation. So my first tip is if you can live with off-white to white pages versus straight white pages, obviously that's going to save you quite a bit of money, even in the same grade. The other thing is auction versus buy it now situations. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing any buy it now situations for any CGC graded books, Star Wars or otherwise, in the current market environment. I just feel like there's too many good deals out there, and the market has softened so much that I think you're going to be better off getting a good deal if you wait for an auction for whatever book you're looking for. Now, let's say you go to a 9.2 grade. The price jumps to $410 plus shipping. So to go from an 8.5 with white pages to a 9.2 with white pages, you're only going up in price, based on these sales, about $50 or so, $50 or $60. And this one was at auction. So I think that this is the better buy that gets you into the nines, so to speak, with a CGC 9.2 versus an 8.5. And again, this was at an auction. The buy it now situations for this book is probably $450 to $475. So again, just wait for an auction. There's so many of these on the census across 8.5 all the way to 9.8 or whatever grade you're looking for that I think you can find a pretty good deal if you just wait for an auction. Here's another 9.2 with white pages, and this one sold for $495. So this was the same grade, both of them white pages. One of them sold at auction for $410. This was a buy it now situation for $495. That's $100 difference. That's almost a 20% difference in price because of impatience. And again, I think if you're patient and wait for an auction, you can get a lot better deal rather than paying up in a buy it now situation. Next up, an interesting one, Star Wars #8. Not one we've talked about regularly, but this is the first appearance of Jackson. And there he is, the rabbit on the right-hand side. He just came out in the Black series in that comic box last year. But Star Wars #8 in a 9.6 grade, that sold for $98. $98. And this one was a 9.6 with off-white to white pages. That was a buy it now situation that sold for $120 plus shipping. So you get a better book by waiting for an auction and because it's white pages versus off-white to white, and you're also saving money. So someone paid $120 for off-white to white versus $98 in the auction. So again, it's a buy it now versus an auction, and I just think that you need to be patient with these books that are pretty plentiful on the census. Now, going from a 9.6 with white pages for $98 all the way to a 9.8 with white pages, $761. That is a massive, massive premium versus the 9.6 grade. So again, talking about budget, everyone's kind of tightening up the reins a little bit because of the economy. If you can live without a 9.8 grade and you're okay with a 9.6, that is a massive savings. You're saving over $600 or so, $660 to be exact, by going from a 9.8 down to a 9.6. It's just one grade bump down, and you're saving over $660. So just another point there. Next up, let's talk about Mace Windu. Star Wars Jedi, Mace Windu. This is no number. This is a one-shot. And this is the first appearance of Asajj Ventress in comics. A really great book, one I'd love to add in my collection in a 9.8 grade. And let's take a look at auctions versus buy it now situations. This one was a recent auction. It just ended on July 7th. That sold for $406. That's the lowest price I've seen for this book in a long time. This has historically been selling for $600 to $650. And even though the market's softer, someone still paid $630 in a buy it now situation for the exact same book. So again, this is a case of impatience. The exact same book, the exact same grade, but you're talking $230 difference in price. That is a huge difference. And again, this is not like a super rare book where there's like 1 to 10 of them on the census. There's a lot of these. It's not like there's thousands of them, but there's more than 10, right? And I think if you're patient and wait for another auction, you're going to get a much better deal rather than ponying up for a buy it now situation. And there's other sources other than just eBay. You can look on My Comic Shop. There's always auctions going on there, and I think they actually have one going right now for this exact same book in their July Prime auction. Next up, let's talk about Clone Wars #1. I would stay away from this book right now. We got the Ahsoka series coming out. But even though the Ahsoka series has come out, because of the softening market, this book is the lowest I've seen in a long time. This one sold at auction for $10,000, and while that sounds like a lot of money, this has been historically selling for $13,000 to $16,000. But because the market's softer, this book has come down. Now, I want to emphasize that this is the 1 of 1,000 copies version. So this is the variant cover, the special edition, very rare. And there's even fewer of them, obviously, in the 9.8. There's only 1,000 copies printed. So this is one of the holy grails for modern Star Wars books. And to see one sell at an auction was really interesting. But $10,000 took it home. And again, that's a good 30 to 50% less than where this book peaked at. But I still would stay away from this book personally. But if you got deep pockets, you want to take advantage of the softening comic book market as a whole, maybe now's a good time. I don't know. I also wanted to show the standard cover. This is the standard cover. This one just sold for $28.99, which is crazy. I would not spend anywhere close to this money. This is June of last month's prices, okay? Another one just sold on either My Comic Shop or Comic Link or one of those other sites for $2,200, literally less than a month ago. And someone, instead of paying $2,200, someone paid $2,900. That's a 30% difference, over a 30% difference in price. Me personally, I would wait till the Ahsoka series is come and gone. I would love to have this book, don't get me wrong. In a 9.8, it would be a great addition to my collection to pair with my Heir to the Empire #1, which is the first Thrawn. But I'm staying away from this book until, I'd say probably the earliest would be 6 to 8 months after the Ahsoka series has come and gone on Disney+. But this data point right here of $2,900 is way too high. I think you're better off, if you're going to buy this book now, I would wait and find an auction. I bet it would sell for closer to $2,000. Next up, let's go back to Cad Bane for a second. Obviously, he made his live action appearance in the Book of Boba Fett and then was quickly killed off. And I still think he's coming back. But this is his first cover appearance, Darth Maul #3. This was a $200 to $300 book during the height of the Book of Boba Fett and all the craziness, seeing Cad Bane show up in live action. Now it's $99. So the price has been cut to about 25% of its peak. And I think now is a great time to be buying anything Cad Bane. Darth Maul #2 is his first full comic book appearance. Darth Maul #3 is his first cover appearance. Me, I'm a buyer right now for Cad Bane related comic books because I think he's coming back. Lucasfilm and Disney and Filoni, they do not want to just one and done him on a couple of episodes in the Book of Boba Fett. They put too much time into the special effects and all the effort and resources that went into that, and how awesome he was and how well he was received by the Star Wars community. There's no way he's dead. I guarantee you he's coming back. And if you like Cad Bane like I do, now's a great time to buy it. And this is when I should be buying it instead of buying it when I did, leading into the Book of Boba Fett. Next up, I wanted to toot my own horn just a little bit. This is a book that I said that, hey, leading into the Anakin series, or excuse me, the Obi-Wan series, we're probably going to be seeing some of Darth Vader. And, you know, obviously very quickly after that, it was confirmed he was coming out. And then obviously in the last episode, we had that epic fight where his face was shattered in that awesome lightsaber fight. And this is a book that I recommended months ago. I said, get Darth Vader #5 while this is $100 or less. Well, this book is just awesome. It shows Anakin with a kind of shattered lens with his face behind it. It's an awesome, awesome cover. I think it's got a partial origin for Anakin and how he, during his conversion over to Darth Vader. And it was about $100 when I recommended it. I said, this is a good book to get. Well, this one just sold for $230. So it's more than doubled in price since I recommended it. I expect this book to come back down because it's really, you're buying it for the cover. I still think it's an awesome one to have. I'd love to have it, but I'm not paying more than $100, maybe $125 for it. $230 is too much, although it is an epic book, and there's not many of these on the census, and it's got a very, very black cover. Just a really tough one to have, but I remember very specifically saying that this is going to be a book that you probably want to get, and sure enough, it has skyrocketed in price, but I bet it will come right back down now that people's attention are focused on Andor and Ahsoka and Season 3 of Mandalorian. I bet this book is trading for less than half this price 6 to 9 months from now. Next up is another book that I really liked, and I said this is probably a good one to pick up for $100 to $125. It hasn't moved up too much, but it has moved up a little bit, and that's Star Wars Forces of Destiny, Ahsoka and Padme. This is a one-shot that has Ahsoka and what's her name? My mind is blanking right now. Queen Amidala, and it's an awesome cover. My mind is just mush right now. But I said that this is a good one leading into the Ahsoka series. It's moved up a little bit. It's probably moved up about 30% or so in price. There's not many of these on the census, and it is an awesome cover. It's not a key issue, though, so keep that in mind. You're buying wall art for this one, okay? But I wanted to at least point it out that it's a book that has moved up despite the market softening. Next up, we've got Darth Vader #3. What a wild, wild ride this book has been on. Obviously, this is the first comic book appearance of Dr. Chelly Aphra and her 2 murder droids. This is the standard cover A. There's a boatload of these for the first print in a 9.8. Now, this is a 9.6. That sold for $200. This is the 9.8. This sold for $312. This is a case where I would recommend ponying up and getting the 9.8. There's so many of them on the census, and when, not if, when Dr. Chelly Aphra makes her live-action appearance, this book will go up, despite being very numerous on the census, and there's lots of printings and all that kind of stuff. But I think if you're going to buy this book, buy it now because it has come down in price. It got up to like $500 to $550. Now it's trading for closer to $300. I think that's a good price, but I would stay away from a 9.6. I would get a 9.8 for this book just because they're so plentiful, and there's like 6 of them at auction right now as I make this video. So they're very, very easy to find. Now, here's a case again where somebody decided to do a buy it now. They did a buy it now for $380. And this one sold for $312. So again, you could save some money, and there's absolutely no reason to buy this book in a buy it now situation. There are dozens and dozens of these. They come up every week in an auction, especially right now, because I think sellers who have a lot of these, they're panicking because the comic book market has softened, and because Dr. Aphra did not make the appearance in the Book of Boba Fett like everybody expected after seeing Black Chrysanthemum, they decided to start dumping them. And so I think if you want the book, get it in a 9.8, but don't do it in a buy it now situation. Wait for an auction. Conversely, here is Darth Vader number 3, but this is the Laraka 1 in 25 ratio variant. It's still an expensive book. It really hasn't moved down that much, probably because there's not many of them out there. This was a 9.8 grade. It sold in an auction on July 5th for $1,700. Now, that's a little lower. Don't get me wrong. That's a little lower than where it peaked at. But to me, if I'm spending $1,700, I think you're better off spending $1,700 or less, really, on Heir to the Empire #1 and getting the first appearance of Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now, is the Grand Admiral Thrawn first appearance comic more plentiful on the census? Yes, obviously. But I still think that that's a better investment than Dr. Aphra, because Dr. Aphra, she could be anywhere from 2 to 5 years away from appearing in live action content. And when it does happen, this book certainly will skyrocket. But I just feel like it's a lot of money to risk versus getting a more known blue chip quantity like Grand Admiral Thrawn. And I think that that's just an example. There's certainly other books. You could spend that money on Clone Wars 1. You could spend it on a vintage book like Star Wars 42 and get Boba Fett's first appearance for not much more money. And I just feel like $1,700 on a somewhat speculative long-term investment is just too much money. Me personally, I would just stick with the cover A, the standard $300 cover. It's just probably a little safer investment. If you got the deep pockets, then go for it. But to me, that's a lot of money to spend. Here's another one that sold. Going back to my buy it now versus an auction. This one sold in a buy it now situation with an older case. So this is an older case, and it sold for $1949, which is $250 more than what it sold for in an auction. So again, if you want it, great, go for it. I still think I would stay away from it personally, even at this kind of lower price versus its peak. But if you do want it, wait for an auction versus paying up for a buy it now situation. The spread in a buy it now versus an auction is just so dramatic for all of these books that I just showed you that it just makes no sense in a market where prices are on the downswing. Everything is on the downswing for CGC Comics. And wait for an auction, hope for a good deal. And if you have the mindset that it's not the end of the world if you lose it, then you're going to be okay. There was a Star Wars 42, the first comic book appearance of Boba Fett in a CGC 9.8, perfect case, perfect everything. I bid on it and I lost. I lost by $100, and I'm okay with that. I put in what I thought was a fair price, and I think that I was either the second or third highest bidder, and I lost out to somebody else. But you know what? I'm okay with it, and I'm going to wait for another auction and see what happens. And hopefully I'll get that grail, that personal grail of mine eventually. But if I lose out, I lose out, and I'm okay with that. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.